Sunday's big game.
Yeah.
Which is coming up, Ireland against Scotland.
Yeah.
8:45 a.m. UK and Ireland time. International Stadium, Yokohama, refereed by Wayne Barnes.
Yes. Okay.
Reasonably fair man.
Yeah.
It's got some news coming out of it already from an Ireland perspective that Henshaw and Earls seem unlikely to play.
They do.
Obviously massive news last week about Robbie Henshaw and his injury, and he was someone we were very, very confident about, who coloured a lot of our Ireland chat last week going into this tournament. His defensive, his similarities to Am. He's as close as any 13 gets when he's on his game to Am defensively. But he will not be playing this week anyway. And then there's doubts about Rob Kearney and Joey Carberry and whether they can make it back on time.
Yes.
You would be optimistic about getting one of those guys in the game.
Hopefully so.
And then obviously the other news is that there's apparently, according to Joe Schmidt anyway, meteorologist Joe Schmidt.
Oh yes.
There's to be a storm.
There's a storm coming apparently, and yes, for sure we've been forewarned about that. It's been a talking point. We've had the 0-0 draw loophole has been permeating through some of the chats and talking.
It's one of the media's favourites. Hopefully that doesn't.
Hopefully that we get the whole World Cup without that. I could do without a walkover 0-0 draw against Russia or anyone.
Yeah.
But yeah. So hopefully it'll not be too bad.
From Ireland's perspective, it's a massive game. Just for everything. I mean, you first of all, this pool has that interesting dynamic where you don't know who Japan could upset.
Yeah.
So you don't want to lose any games because you could be caught in that Japanese melee like the last time where everyone has one loss.
Yes.
And then it's bonus points and goofy shit that decides things.
It's true.
So I think for both sides, they're not going to be wanting to lose this game. Chance to top the pool is massive, and then just momentum in a tournament. Especially Ireland with like a frail new confidence.
It is a bit of a frail confidence. It's coming in as number one in the world, but that could all change very quickly.
That is a confidence that depends on winning these opening two games and doing so well.
Yeah.
And if they do that, then they will have a real confidence going into that quarter final, which will be massive. But right now it's a frail confidence, and they need to put Scotland to bed essentially.
Yeah, and Scotland themselves have wrestled a bit of momentum out of these warm-up fixtures as well. Their doubleheader with France did them a world of good, even though they did get blown away in the first fixture. The fact that they fixed that in Murrayfield was very encouraging. It's really their doubleheader against Georgia, which is good stylistic prep for Ireland anyway, in terms of what, like, Georgia aren't on Ireland's level, but they're trying to play a similar game to what Joe Schmidt's Ireland are, and Scotland have now got two great pictures of it all going right for them against it, and making it about the Scotland way, which is speed and accuracy and Finn Russell's passing game, and try and move Ireland's big forward pack around and grab their tries when they're there.
Definitely, moving the big forwards around is key. Seeing if, obviously in the absence of Henshaw, getting that pass away to the outside of a ring rose and getting Henshaw on the ball in the wide channels. Huge. Henshaw's
getting hog on the ball in the wide channels.
Names have gone out of my head today, but getting hog on that ball and looking to wear Ireland down and strike them with that quick game.
We've seen pictures of it over the last few years. Like, generally, Joe Schmidt's Ireland has managed to get the better of the Scots more often than not. Obviously, one big win in Murrayfield a few years ago, and performances in Dublin where it was tight, and they did manage to get like the likes of Stewie Hogg on the ball in the wide channels, but for that last pass eluding them on 3 separate occasions, it could have been a different story.
The last pass is its own factor. Being clinical is a big part of this game, and
it's a big part of Scotland's game. Like, more so than Ireland, and more so than a lot of teams, Scotland try to strike whenever it's there. Like, if they see a bit of space that could result in a try, they try to exploit it, and that involves the execution of a killer pass and a last pass to complete it. Whereas Ireland are completely kind of philosophically different. If they see a 50-50 ball that could be, if you ping it off your left hand 40 yards, could be a great try, they're going to play the percentages more often than not and go back inside and try and dominate a contact and get another ruck going. Which presents its own, like, this has always been a good game in these last few years, because they are two stylistic.
They're going about it very differently,
two different approaches to playing the game.
I just think just that one huge area for Scotland is the flankers. Barkley and Watson. On the far side of the ball when they don't have the ball, the way that Ireland look to hold the ball, when it has gone wrong for Ireland in recent years, the damage that jacklers have done to that attempt to hold the ball is key. That's what Scotland are going to be looking at. Watson and Barkley slowing everything up, getting steals, getting those jackals. If Ireland are winning contacts like the TJ chat for steals, Hamish Watson getting over the ball.
They don't want to get on the wrong side of Barnes in the breakdown. He does officiate the breakdown more than some of the other refs. So like they will be trying to, like when Scotland are at their best, you'll see Barkley make a tackle and he is on the wrong side. He's landed on the wrong side and he's gonna stay there as fraction, just upset Ireland's support runners enough for Watson to come in over the ball. Yeah. It's potential to go wrong if they're a little bit inaccurate, and then suddenly Barnes is seen as like, yeah, you're okay, but you're not rolling away. That kind of stuff does.
Barnes does. You're right to flag that. Barnes does get that out, but no, they can be very disciplined in that area as well, and they can just be clean steals that they get. Hamish Watson in particular, a very tough man to move.
He is.
He gets a lot gets talked about his ball carrying, but his defensive chops are massive.
Yes.
So that's a huge picture for Scotland as well, and then obviously just in terms of constricting Ireland. The Nell Healy battle is just colossal.
Great contest.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can't even remember when Nell was playing in Georgia, if it was actually Nariashvili who was up against, but whoever it was, he managed to really hold his own and played a great game out in Georgia against a great scrum.
Yeah,
and it's a similarly Herculean task against an Irish pack with a load of heft and as elite a scrummager as they come, as you said, knocking on his door. So that battle, if they can lock down that scrum, all of a sudden, where Ireland would be looking to dominate the set piece, they would be looking almost to get some off themselves because they've got scrum parity, and then maybe they can pick off a couple of those dodgy Irish lineups. That would be huge. And then just the back three, because if it's a storm and if it's wet, you know that Ireland are going to go to a kicking game. They're going to kick that leather off the ball. Sexton is going to kick those bombs that have just incredible air on them. Murray's going to exit with box kicks. And how their back three deal with them.
It's how they're oriented. They may opt for someone like Maitland on the wing to give them a bit of
Blair Kinghorn.
Or sorry, not Maitland, but I heard Kinghorn.
Yeah.
Fullbacks in terms of diffusing that, because Stewie Hogg is not the most. Like, he's generally very very solid in the air.
Yeah.
Loves
certainly if he's given space. Like if a kick goes too long,
that's devastating. But in the context, if it's him v Rob Kearney, we don't know if he'll be there. But if he's him in the air against
Roger Conway,
if it's that Sexton bomb with a load of air, or the Murray box kick returning with a load of air, that can be a contest that the Scots just don't want to be a part of, because that's more of the Ireland game. It will be forced on them.
They have to just diffuse them, Liam Williams style.
Yeah.
Then we have the ball. Yeah. That's how you do it.
Indeed.
So that's going to be massive for them as well.
Yeah.
And from Ireland's point of view, it is about dominating physically. They do have a lot of recent memory of dominating Scotland physically, both in club and country.
Sure.
Those players are used to doing that. And yes, it's about holding the ball, getting that edge at scrum time. I think Ireland have been too complacent with their scrum. I think they have an excellent scrum, and they tend to not keep the ball at the base. They actually tend to almost to coach the guys to seemingly scrum for like, you can see sometimes they're just scrumming to lock it down.
Yeah,
like that's just the shape of them. Sometimes Tig is just down, like I'm not moving. That's my thing. I'm just not moving. Yeah. And Keane the same. Where actually they've got a load of heft. They've blew in drop Dev Toner just to bring in a hefty scrummaging lock. Yeah. It's time for Ireland to really go put the wheels on the scrums.
I expect that to actually be a tactic in this and the Japan game. Like, as much as the weather is humid over there, they're obviously billing a storm. If the storm does come, and if it's a wet, blustery game, that obviously is more advantageous to Ireland's chances than Scotland's, because it will affect all things like passing accuracy and speed of the game in general.
Making a game tighter generally is going to benefit Ireland.
But similarly, even if it is that hot picture, that hot, humid and dry track, even if those do come in these fixtures, Ireland's scrum is a way of controlling that. Like, it doesn't have to be out wide, it doesn't have to be fat, like, because defending in that heat is going to be taxing, and there will be more space, and it'll be a looser thing than even up in the Six Nations in different climates. But at scrum time, we're all locked down together, and Ireland, can be more aggressive than they have been, and I expect they will. I expect they just haven't been showing.
I think that
they showed a bit of it against Wales.
People are talking about what Joe Schmidt has up his sleeve. Yeah, and I actually think it's what Greg Feek has up his sleeve. I think the biggest thing that Ireland will look to bring to this World Cup that they haven't been bringing is offensive scrummaging, because it seems to me like they've had the boys on a leash. Like, a lot of times they've looked like they could have an edge over a side, and they've just chosen to keep it solidity. So I think they're looking to actually shock teams with their scrum, and that's something they're going to be going for. I think that's massive. Holding the ball, huge. Sexton's performance, huge, whether it's in a rainy picture and he's kicking the ball, or whether he's just dictating that offense where they're holding the ball.
Murray's speed of passing, we want to get that established rhythm. If we're going to be going around the corner off 9, there needs to be a clip to it, and Murray, when he's on form, can be doing that and playing our guys over the gain line. but when it's a little bit stuttery, and if Scottish jacklers can affect things, McAnally's another one actually who we didn't mention, who's a good guy in that area. Scotland will be looking to spoil that, but a lot will be hinging on the halfbacks and their performance to get Ireland over the gain line and over the line in this game.
And obviously we're rooting for Ireland going into this one. Can Ireland shut down from a defensive point of view what Finn is bringing?
Well, they can. They have.
Without Henshaw.
Without Henshaw, it's tougher. He is some guy for getting in the passing lane quickly, and that means just presenting a picture that Finn loves, which is an enticing pass or a floated pass. And Henshaw is as good as anyone when he's there at just getting into that space and making man and ball hits. Which is what you want. And similarly, if Rob Kearney doesn't play, Finn's boot is also, it's hot and cold, but when it's hot, it can be very
glorious looking to attack that space.
So if there's a dodgy, if it's Larmour or someone having to slot in, then that's an avenue the Scots will attack too. It all starts with physicality. That's why things like the scrum are important. I hope our line out can get a bit more confidence and a bit more going off. Offensive mauling is another similar aspect to this Ireland game that really needs to be there for our whole kind of picture to be painted, which it wasn't in the warm-up games. Even in the last few where we were getting on top and we managed to beat Wales, there were still question marks about the line out. And for the first time in a long time, like even Ireland teams that were going to the World Cup with less of a chance than we were maybe billing them with in years gone by, they always seem to have a solid line out. Even going back to like Malcolm O'Kelly and Keith Wood and times like that, we always had a strong line out base, and that is a bit rocked. The foundations of that are a bit more rocked than I can certainly remember going to a World Cup with before.
Didn't Argentina pick off a couple? They picked off once Paul O'Connell went injured in that quarterfinal.
Yeah, that was another. It was a big talking point. The lack of Paulie. Like for the whole game, every lost line out, it was panned to Paul O'Connell in crutches up in the stand. But that's not like on day one of the tournament. We were coming with Paul O'Connell, everyone there, and a line out and maul that was as good as any in the world, and I'd like to see us get to that level again.
No question. No question. Yeah, it's a tough one to call neutrally.
Well,
from our point of view,
I'm wearing my green and saying, voting with my heart and saying that Ireland are going to win this. Similarly, though, I'm prefacing it as we will with all. There are winning conditions for both, and look for the first 20 minutes. Who's setting the tempo of the game?
I'm going to vote with my heart as well, wearing blue, and say Ireland will win.
Ireland will win.
But I think there are more good winning conditions for Ireland. They are more physical. They're quite used to doing it. I also think the absence of Earls / maybe even Carney gives a good opportunity to get Andrew Conway into the game, and he's one of the form players out there at the moment, and it'll be exciting to maybe get him on the ball, and then all of a sudden you've got wingers Stockdale and Conway who you can put in space, who will grab tries. So I actually think they're like one of the things that we didn't even touch on is that the Scottish midfield, granted it's a little more secure perhaps with Johnson
and Harris or Taylor there.
Indeed, it is a little more secure with those guys, but there have been holes in there to exploit, and last time they met, Sexton put Stockdale into one beautifully. There's a lot of good in the Irish attack when it gets purred as well, and I think there are tries to be had.
Finn will be looking for that intercept though, same as Bigger before him, that little pod structure that in the midfield.
I don't think Sexton's throwing it for some reason.
I don't think so. I think it's going into Stockdale's hands, and if it's not on, it's going into CJ's or someone else's, and they're just going to run into Scots. So I'm hopeful that we can get this done, and even hopeful that maybe a bonus point, but I'm not getting greedy. I just want to see this game won by Ireland professionally, clinically, and hopefully let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on Ireland.
Come on Ireland.
Yes.
Thank you very much for tuning into the Overlap Rugby podcast. If you're new here, please click subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified of all our new videos. And leave a comment as well, because we love the chat and conversation. Thanks.